Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Going Bold Wednesday, where we do men issues, topics, and concerns. And ladies, I hope you enjoy the show because we are going to also gear some of our topics to you. We just don't let the men know it. We keep it a secret. You guys, you're on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And let's talk about the Oh, I can hear on the other side.
Not me. I think you've got it.
I think it's me. I think it was me. Sorry, I do apologize for that. We got several things going at one time. Anyhow, this is the boy and girl thing with Dr. Christopher Salute, and I am Cece Shatz.
How are you? I'm going to hit live on TikTok. We'll be live in a second, then we'll go live on Instagram. Thank you so much for taking over. I was sharing the show with Facebook and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I think this is going to be a fun show. So it's called Are You Even Available? So before we hop into Are You Even Available, we'll talk about what the show means, but we'll talk about emotional availability today. Cece, what's going on with you?
Well, we should introduce ourselves because I don't think I did that actually. So that you guys know, I am Cece Shatz. I'm the Doyenne of Relationships. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life transition coach. I began the Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB, in 2016, and we change lives one talk show at a time. So that's me. And Christopher, you want to talk about you?
Absolutely. I'm Dr. Christopher Salute. You're actually watching the Going Bold Network on Going Solo Network. This is a network that Cece and I have kind of conjured up over the past couple of almost a year it's taken us to put together. And so I'm a PhD, MBA, life coach, relationship coach, dating coach, certified, and just all around guy. So I'm currently representing all men right now. That's what I'm doing. So
I like that. You're around guy.
I am the male representative at the Boy and Girl Show. So Cece, why are we doing the show today? What specifically brought up the show?
Well, the reason we're doing it is because our last show, there was a lady on that talked about having a relationship with someone, and when she was talking about it, it just came to mind that the gentleman that she was pursuing was just not available. It's not that he wasn't interested in her. He certainly was, but he really couldn't take the relationship like where she wanted it to go, right? Because we have a vision of where we want our relationships to go, and he just couldn't do it. He was wrapped up. He lived at home. He still wasn't divorced yet. I think he had a child and everything. So he just simply didn't have all his, cards on the table, and he just wasn't ready for a relationship.
Yeah. And so we had a great chat with that young woman on the show. And, we encourage, if you're on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, or if you're Morse coding in, comment. I mean, if you're on TikTok, I can watch your comments right here. Let us know what's going on. But this show came about from somebody who commented. It was a little not in the place of that show, but we ran with it. We said, hey, let's do another show about it.
Right.
Today's show is about being emotionally available or unavailable. And, I kind of thought, let's take the stance of, if you're feeling someone is emotionally unavailable, are you available? Because sometimes we think somebody is emotionally unavailable when in actuality, we are not the person who's available. And, there comes about this way of thinking where we tend to think to ourselves, and if you're on TikTok, you're probably close to my age or younger, you're a millennial or below. We tend to have this kind of mindset where we go, if it doesn't fit me, I'm out. I'm done. And now there's something to be said about that. If it doesn't make you happy in the long run, sure, get out. But there's also this tendency where we don't know how to compromise and we don't know how to conflict resolute, because if it doesn't suit you, you're out. To me, and I've been doing some research, that is a sign of emotional unavailability, right? We are saying to someone, I'm not here for that. I'm not here to work with you. I'm here to serve myself and my needs. And since you are not doing that at this particular moment, I'm going to flip out, right? And I don't know if that's the right answer. So now I wanted to ask you, Cece, what do you think about this? Wait a minute.
Does that make you not available, or does it make them not available?
Well, that's my question is it both?
I mean, that I think the way you were wording it is like if they're not showing up, if they're not present into your life the way you really envision them to be, then they're not available, right? I mean, they're
Right.
not the right ones, right?
Let me rephrase. I think, and that's true, and that's 100% true. If somebody doesn't show up for you 100%, I think, and tell me if this is generational. This is what I see happening in our world. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just my experience. Maybe it's my jaded view of dating. Maybe it's a personal bias. I think, and feel free if you're on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, chime in, or YouTube. I think that if what tends to happen is not that somebody didn't show up, a pattern of not showing up or a pattern of long-term not showing up. I think what sometimes happens is somebody doesn't act in accordance with what our expectations are, and it's early in the relationship, and we write it off and we go, not for me, and we split. To me, that's a sign of yourself being emotionally unavailable because you have taken such a short end and said, I'm not going to wait around and compromise for this. What do you think? Am I jumping to a conclusion? Am I being biased?
Well, I think that I think if the relationship is at the beginning and you can see clearly that it's not progressing into the way you want it to be,
Sure.
then to jump out, I think is okay. It's when you are into the relationship and you kind of do this stall out, right? It's like it's not kind of moving forward the way you think it's going to be. Someone is holding back, and you get that feeling that someone's holding back. They won't tell you how they feel, or you just feel like they've got one foot out all the time. That is when they're not available. There's something going on within their environment where they're not all the way in, right? And I think in relationships, that's what we want. We want someone that's going to be all in, right? Lay it down. And often I say to the men, they got to lay it down. They've got to, just kind of give over to the woman and stop going out, prowling around, doing the boy thing, whatever.
Yeah. Now we're talking about, as Cece says, man and woman, we're talking about hetero relationships, but this applies to every relationship, right?
Right, it does, yeah. And only I'm old school, and so sorry about that. But
no, not at all. This could be any relationship, and there are always going to be roles out there that, I tend to say gender roles, but not. We tend to associate the kind of hunter avoider with males, right, and the kind of nester relationshiper with females. But there are a lot of folks who, whether you are a traditional male or you just have masculine tendencies, they do try to lock it down early. That's also, we just finished our show on narcissism. That can be a sign of narcissism that you're trying to lock down quickly because there's this sense of urgency in which you want to control that experience. But what Cece is talking about is this avoidant tendency to not want to define, not want to be in the relationship, to still want to, still want to kind of, to as you were saying, go around and prowl around and do your thing. I was in a relationship, one of my longer ones, though I've referenced it before, and I wasn't emotionally available, not because I necessarily didn't want to be in the relationship. I wasn't ready to commit to that person. And there were signs of abuse on their end and some toxicity on both of our ends, and probably a good reason that I didn't. But it was that emotional unavailability that triggered a lot of those types of behaviors. So it happens. Now, in your experience, Cece, is it always like, what do you tend to see? Why do you tend to see people are emotionally unavailable?
Well, I know that when you come out of relationship loss, you try to go into, a lot of people go into dating very early.
Jump right into the relationship.
They think, okay, the other partner's in it, so I might as well jump in it. And really, they're not available because they're not really ready for that kind of relationship. They want to be busy. They want someone to tell them they're pretty, or someone that's interested in them, or they want to feel wanted again, or, all of those things they're doing for themselves. But when you really build a relationship with someone, it's not all about you. It's about them. When you meet someone, it's about how can I make you happy, and do what's right for you as you're building this relationship, and vice versa. And when it's all about you, you're really not available. You're not available to be actually into a full-blown relationship. Here we go. She's running.
Wanting the benefits of a relationship without, oh, go ahead, Cece, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You do it. You're good, better at it.
Wanting the benefits of a relationship without any of the work. Relationships can be work, learning how to be with someone. Yes. So I want to touch on a few things. And to be quite honest, we've hit our 10-minute mark. So TikTok, I'm sorry, y'all got to bounce. So if you want to check us out, you can see us at WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, right on my Shoreby. You'll see all the links. You can check us out on Facebook or on YouTube. Just search. I searched it real quick to share it. I said, are you even available? So search that on YouTube and you'll find our show. We'll see you guys later. We're going to join up on Instagram. Bye. Thank you. You guys rock. So to answer, Cece, we talked about two things.
Wrong one.
No, sorry, no. So we talked about, what's that?
I put up the wrong show. Sorry.
What'd you put on?
I put on the barbershop show, and this is the boy and girl thing.
That's really funny. So we talked about two things, right? We talked about number one, your thing about repeat what you had said again, because I really want to gather that about being in a relationship, jumping into a relationship. Can you paraphrase that? Jumping into a relationship after in a relationship, and who's available and who's not.
Right. If you're jumping from one relationship to another, you're basically not available, because you haven't really, you're really focusing on your own needs. You're focusing on, what makes you feel good, not on building a relationship with someone. And building a relationship with someone is really focusing on their needs. You have to compromise, so often we have other interests. When we get into a relationship, then we have to start looking at those interests, and are they really that important? Do I really want to go play golf every weekend? Do those kind of things. Do I want to spend time with her? So maybe I need to, take a day out of the weekend golf and spend one day with her, that kind of thing. But it's not that you have to do it. It's that you want to do it. That's the key. And so when you become more and more available, you become, and you step into it, it's that you want to do that. It's not someone making you do that.
Right.
We talk about compromise a lot in relationships, but it's not always about compromise. It's about wanting to make your other partner happy. Right.
And I think compromise comes with that. So Mana, I want to put on these two things. So if you're just joining us from Instagram, welcome. We're talking about emotional availability, and we're talking about the different sides of the equation. So you have the privilege of seeing my mug, but you don't get to see Cece's beautiful face, but you'll hear her on the other side of the screen. And Cece and Mana both brought up two very important things. Mana is one of our listeners, and Cece's our co-host, and brought up two important things that I think are important for us to know, right? The first is when deciding if you're emotionally available or if somebody else is emotionally available, the first is, are you jumping into a relationship too soon, right? And then Mana kind of paired that with a comment. You want the benefits of the relationship without actually giving of yourself in that relationship. Here's my problem with both of those statements. And you're both right. I don't have a problem with you. I have a problem with what you're saying about people. My problem is that people do that often. They jump into a new relationship before they're ready to jump into a new. What's the word? Not victim. What's the word? Criminal. I can't think of the word. Like criminal number one. Why can't I think of that word? Like perpetrator. I'm like the worst, right? I've done that before. Okay. I've jumped into a new relationship before I was even close to being ready. And I found a couple of things. First of all, I hurt myself in some of the worst possible ways. It is like, you know what it's like if you're an athlete, or if you've ever been injured at work and you jump into work before you are ready to jump into that grueling working whatever. Oh, whoops. I got to shut off my alarms. Sorry. All my alarms go off to tell me to go to bed because it's so late for us. There we go. So if you've done that before, you've jumped into work, or sport before you're ready. I just was watching Grey's Anatomy, and Meredith Grey had COVID, and then she got better, and then all of a sudden, after she got better, she jumped into saving a patient too soon, and then she went back into a coma, right? Same thing. If you've sprained an ankle or you've hurt a knee and you go back onto the field, you're not ready yet, right? You're hurting yourself, number one. You're hurting your team, you're hurting your coworkers, whatever, but you're also hurting the person next to you in a relationship because you're not ready for them, and they are expecting a full person, right? Yeah. The other part of it is, that Manna kind of said you want the benefits of the relationship. I can't tell you, and I adamantly disagree with this 1,000%. I used to tell people all the time, you know how to get over a relationship? Jump into dating, right? Go date, right? Okay, that's the stupidest thing I've ever said to anybody, okay? For a couple of reasons. Number one, because the intimacy without true intimacy, right? The physical intimacy without true heart-to-heart intimacy is going to hurt you more than you've been hurt. And it's going to hurt that other person. Even when you're consenting, even when you say, look, I'm really just trying to get some, it's no matter what you say, in my experience, when you are intimate with someone, there's no way to fake that. Right? So there are true chemicals released. There are true emotions released. There's eye-to-eye contact. There's skin-to-skin contact. You can't fake that. Number two is if you're not consenting, right? If you're not telling people that you're doing that, you've got somebody on the other end who doesn't fully understand what you're there for. And you're there to have some fun and get over this ex. They're expecting you to be their person, right? And so I think that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever said, and one of the stupidest things I've ever done is to go into a relationship so quickly or jump into dating after somebody else, because the person on the other end doesn't know you're doing that. You are probably the most emotionally unavailable that you've been, and you're not allowing that person in at all. So you're a shell.
That is so true, and I don't think that is like a generation. I think we all do it.
Oh yeah,
and we've all done it. And then regret it terribly. So, I had that happen after my first relationship. After my divorce, I dated a guy, and he actually bought a ring and everything. And I panicked. I mean, I just totally, I just like ghosted him after that. I was like, I totally freaked out because he was in all the way, and I still wasn't emotionally there. Yeah.
And how long were you all together?
We were together for, I don't know. I don't know how long. That space of time, it's like, whatever. Yeah, we were together for a little, but I didn't think long enough for something like that anyhow.
Propose.
But but listen, hey, when you got me, what can I say,
What I was saying. I mean, you're a prize, Cece. Did I ever tell you about the guy who proposed on the high roller? I watched it on the high roller on TV. So the first, do you know what the high roller is?
No.
The high roller it's a huge Ferris wheel that is this. It's the exact replica of the London Eye, but they made it in true American fashion. They made it like 4 meters higher than the London Eye so that they can say it's the tallest Ferris wheel in the world. Because that's what we do as Americans. We exploit those differences and make sure we're the biggest and the best. And so the first time I was ever in Vegas, let me to talk about emotionally unavailable. I was just barely, I was still separated, just barely divorced. Tinder was like new for me. I didn't understand what Tinder was. I'm in Vegas for New Year's Eve, and I'm swiping right. There was no limit on swipes back then. And I'm meeting, I'm talking to people. Emotionally unavailable. I wasn't even physically available. I was a mess. But we're hanging out in the hotel room. We're waiting to go out. Me and 3 guys just causing trouble in Vegas. The first time ever before I thought I wanted to move here. And I'm watching. I don't know who would air this, but they showed the high roller. It's an hour-long ride. You can't get off. You step on. It's very slow, and then it takes one loop around. And by the time it's done, that's when you get off. Now you can get a full car yourself, and you can make it an open bar. So that it's like 20 people, open bar, and you pay whatever you pay. This guy does it, and at the and I don't know why I'm watching this, right? This guy at the beginning of the hour-long show that I'm watching, okay, it's just literally a secret camera. He proposes to his girlfriend that he wants to make his fiance. And she says no. At the very beginning of this ride, there is no way to step off. It's not going to go backwards. The show must go on. And he's got his friends and family on the high roller drinking his open bar. and they're trying to console him, and he's shrugging people off his shoulder as they're trying to touch his shoulder, and he's just crying and whatever. I'm thinking to myself a couple of things. One is, I'm sorry, and I hate to say it this way, and I felt for this guy. On one hand, I felt for this guy, the pain, because when you are into someone like this guy was into you, Cece, he didn't see the signs, right? Like, I've talked to Cece a lot about who I've been into, and I've been into folks that really weren't right for me, and I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that they weren't right for me. All I saw was that they were beautiful and perfect for me, right? That's all this guy sees. So I feel for this man. And then I also, on the other hand, go, are you an idiot? Like, are you a fool? Because you got to have an inkling that this person's going to probably say yes before you plan something that's so definitive, right? I mean, it's one thing to propose at a park and then we go our separate ways if it doesn't work out, but to take an hour-long drink ride.
Yeah, you're really stuck.
You really
I don't know. If I was her, I don't know if I would have said no, just because I'm in that circumstances.
Yeah.
I think maybe, can we think about it?
Right. Or I don't know.
Let's think for an hour.
Yeah, right. Does it hurt? Does it hurt to say yes and then come back and say no? I don't know if that's the right thing. On that note, we're going to end our show on Instagram. If you want to see us, just go to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. We're on Facebook. You can search us right on YouTube. Just go on YouTube and search "Are You Even Available?" ? And we'll come right up. All right. So thanks so much for watching.
Why don't we just take our quick break while you're doing that, and we'll be right back. No one go anywhere, because it's just for a second, like a couple minutes or a minute. So you can go grab a drink, and we'll be right back. We're going to talk about, are you even available? So hang on for just 1 minute. Hello, welcome back. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the Boy and Girl Thing show. I am Cece Shatz, and I have my sidekick here with me, Dr. Christopher Salute.
Thank you so much for that. And you're watching the Going Bold Network on Going Solo Network, which we're super excited about. Today's topic is, are you even available? We went through some personal experiences. Feel free, comment. We love when you comment in. Cece, now I brought up, I don't know if you want to go through some of these, but I brought up the seven signs that you might be, that tell that you might be emotionally unavailable. Do you want to go through some of these?
The 7 signs.
Yeah.
I have the same one.
Oh, you have the same one. Great.
The 7 ways to tell you might be emotionally unavailable. That one?
Yeah. I mean, the first one.
It's hard to express your emotions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little common sense, right? It's hard to express your emotions. We get that. But here, the one that I jumped right to, number 2, you have difficulty loving yourself and others. Now, here's my take on that. And I think it's eye-opening, right?
Yeah.
They say you shouldn't be if you can't love yourself, you shouldn't fall in love with others, or who's going to love you. To some extent, I agree. But I do think that, you can work on yourself and work with others as well. But if you have trouble loving yourself, it may be challenging for you to experience what true love is and for you to feel that love for a partner. What do you think?
Yeah, that's probably true. I think you should always keep working on yourself. I mean, because we're all evolving, and that's true. I think mentally, it's you have to be wanting to have a relationship, and within wanting having a relationship, you know that you have to, give of yourself. And so I think that's really where we have trouble with being available is
Yeah.
that we only have one foot in. We're not willing to put both feet. And I guess as we go down through some of these things, you'll see some of the things. It's like we make up these things so
Right.
that and we're really not available. We say these things, and then it's because we're just really not available. We want to blame the other person. We want to do all these
Right.
other things, but it's really just us. But you had said something before too about patterns, and I think that if we're out there dating and we keep seeing the same situation happening to us over and over again, it's a pattern, right?
Yes.
And it's something that it's not them, then it's us. So whenever you're doing something and you see a pattern, that's when you have to pull it back and say, wait a minute, it's me that I need to work on.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
I agree. And one of the things on this site, this is bustle.com, they
Mhm.
say you are drawn to unavailable partners, which I think is without a doubt something that same thing with, I think, narcissists who tend to blame other narcissists, as we talked about in the last show. Folks who are unavailable tend to find folks who are unavailable. Why? Because they don't want the hassle of explaining to someone that they're not available at this time. And so if I find someone who's unavailable as well, it's just easier for me to not be available. My problem with that is then probably blaming that other person and doing that over and over and over and creating a pattern of unavailability and not realizing it's you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. While you were talking, I was thinking about, what I see happen a lot is that because I'm older, right, and we're going
Mhm.
into relationships, we tend to say we don't want to get married again. We're kind of afraid of getting married again, or
Sure.
maybe there's a reason financially or your children or whatever that you don't feel it's a necessity to actually get married again. That doesn't mean you're not looking for a full-blown committed relationship as if you were married. It just
Right.
means that you don't want to go and get married. And so often when we're out dating, I hear that a lot. Well, I don't want to get married again. But is it that you don't want to get married again, or you just want to keep one foot out all the time, which
Right.
means you're unavailable? So I think we have to be very, very cautious within ourselves to figure out what is our expectation of building a relationship with someone. Do we truly want to, or do we just want to date, hook up, and have a good time? I mean, we really need to be true with ourselves about what it is that we truly want.
Yeah. And that's okay, is again, if you're speaking to somebody who wants the same thing, right? Okay,
Right.
let's just hook up. That's fine. Some people do the friends with benefits thing, which I hate, but it's a real thing. You had mentioned something I want to touch base on.
And I don't have that. I don't do friends with benefits. I don't
No.
do it. So
Yeah.
if I feel like a relationship is going down that track and that's really all the guy is just not going anywhere, I just stop because
Yeah.
it's just a recipe for hurt,
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned something I'll touch base on. My father is not married to his fiance, and it's not because they don't want to be married. It's because it just doesn't make sense at this point in their lives. I think, I don't know, probably tax reasons or whatever. They just don't need to get married. They've both been married, and they are lifelong partners. They gave each other, she has an engagement ring. Maybe they'll do it's not my business. Maybe they'll do a ceremony abroad or something like that. But it doesn't mean they don't love each other for the rest of their lives. It just means they've both conceded that they don't need that, right?
Right.
There's a difference between saying, I don't want to be married and I don't want to fall in love to that same level again. And I think a lot of people mean that, but don't realize they mean that, because we tend to, when we are thinking about, as someone who's been married and hurt for sure, and hurt someone, definitely there was hurt on both ends. I dread that pain. And, there were nights that I was up crying for a long time, and, when I think about the idea of marriage, I don't necessarily think about the marriage. I think about if the marriage ends and the hurt that I might feel. And that's a real emotional unavailability that I need to probably, negotiate, navigate myself away from. Because what it does is it puts me in these situations, number 4 and 5. You always find reasons not to get close to someone, and you're turned off when people are interested in you. Number 4, you find reasons not to get close to somebody is definitely what we were talking about in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Somebody does one thing that you don't like, and you go, they're not for me. They could be, but you got to give them a second. You know what I mean? It's not like they have a pattern of doing this. If they went to their kid's soccer game over a date with you, that's probably an okay thing to do in my book. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've experienced that too. I've experienced where things haven't really gone right, and not that I'm unavailable. It's that I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Right.
And so when something isn't quite going right, then I think, well, okay, why am I even here? Why am I even doing this? And I start to pull back. And I found myself doing that. And it's not that I'm not available, because I most certainly am. I want a very loving, committed type of relationship, but I don't want to get hurt again. And so I think that even though I think there's a fine line between being unavailable and trying to reserve yourself a little bit, trying not to be hurt, but it seems like when I've done that, and I communicate what my problem is, then, my partner has stepped forward and then worked on that. We worked on that together. So that's kind of worked out. But I've done that where, I've pulled back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we, when we get into effective communication, right? There are times in which you tell someone, hey, I'm in a lot of pain. I need your help. And they go, okay, and they exploit it, right? It's happened to me before. I'm sure I've done it. I'm not proud of it. I'm sure I have. And then there are times in which you say, hey, I don't normally do this. I'm going to open up a little bit, and I need your assistance here. Specifically, I remember I was kind of courting this one woman. We were on and off talking for a year and never met. And I said, she was excited to meet. And I said, I remember, because she liked to play these little games, And I said, look, I'm excited to meet you, and I'm nervous because we've been here before. Don't be a jerk about it, basically. I jokingly said, like, don't be an ass, because I want to meet you.
You said that to her?
In other words, don't exploit it. You know what I'm saying? And because we had a playful kind of thing going on. And from that moment, when I said, I'm excited to meet you and I want you and I'm ready to give myself to you and learn more about you, from that point forward, it was all downhill. She didn't want anything to do with me. And that's number 5. You are turned off when people are interested in you. The minute I stopped playing the game with her and stopped playing the push-pull game with her, which was exhausting, and I said, look, I want to meet you. It's time. I'm excited to meet you. And I really do like you. Please don't exploit that, was the minute she exploited it and did it for weeks. It was absolutely awful. So we're afraid of that happening, right? Versus what should happen, which is, hey, I like you, and I'm in pain because I don't know how to express it. This is something new for me, or I'm vulnerable right now. I need your guidance and your assistance, and somebody saying, okay, I'll work with you on that.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, relationships are hard. I mean, you really just have to know what it is that you want at the end of it, and just keep kind of working towards it. And if people think that if they don't give it all, they're not going to be hurt, but they're still going to be hurt. Every time you work at a relationship, you work at something, you are going to feel the pain of it not working out.
Yeah. I said that to folks that I've dated before, and they go, don't hurt me. And I say, well, I can't promise that. Right. Mm-hmm. I can promise that I won't intentionally hurt you. Mm-hmm. I can promise that I'm going to give you what I can give you, and hopefully it's enough. But there are these folks too, right? The number 6 and 7 on this list. you are reticent to share about yourself, meaning you don't necessarily want to share of yourself too much, right? And then number 7, you shut down when people encourage you to open up. Those are 2 things I think that are really important to note when somebody's emotionally unavailable. I tend to experience those as being a product of maybe abuse or a product of people exploiting that vulnerability. What do you think?
Yeah, it could very well be. Let's see, we got a comment here. She says, every relationship has some sort of risk. You have to determine if the risk is worth it. So, right. Very, very true.
Is the juice worth the squeeze, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I think that if you've been hurt in the past, it is difficult for you to kind of open up. You're afraid of rejection, right? So every time that happens, but you can't get real in a relationship unless you do open up, unless you are willing to lay it down and share your feelings and all of that. It's like, how can you have a relationship without actually sharing your feelings, without sharing of yourself? You can't.
Yeah.
Well,
it's this very interesting. I see it in the relationships that we're in today. And I also, something made me sick a couple of months ago. I was on a dating app, which I think I'm just done. I get flagged on so many dating apps because people think my profile's not real, because they think they think I'm someone else using my pictures, right?
Because you have those fancy pictures. You just need to be like, you're a poser, and so you get those really nice pictures. You just got to look sweaty and all yucky, and then they'll say you're real.
That's funny.
Show one of those really good ones, and then one like you're like,
right, a selfie with the dog, right? Well, but what I've noticed is, I saw this on one dating app once. I was swiping left a lot because I was very, I was honed in on what I wanted to look for, and the app said to me, "Stop swiping left. This is a numbers game, And it made me sick to my stomach because it's not a numbers game. Sure, I mean, you could say that the more matches you have, the better opportunity you have to talk to somebody, but we tend to take that numbers game, in my opinion, and you tell me what you think, and play it out too long, whereby we don't give the person in front of us the right look because we're too worried about the 5 people we let go or the 10 people that are on the next dating app. What do you think?
Well, we have another comment. Let's do this one real quick. I went through the exact same thing for over a year, and it has damaged the way I think when I'm starting to date someone new.
Yeah.
So I totally get that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is a kind of a numbers game. I hate to say it.
Okay.
Because I think you have to put yourself out there when you're on these dating sites, right? And if you don't, if you swipe left all the time, how are you going to meet anybody? So you gotta, and then how are you going to judge somebody in 2-3 seconds? There's got to be something. Of course, you can sometimes see their profiles, and sometimes all you see is a picture. How are you going to be able to, like, oh, well, I don't know. If she's like totally cross-eyed or something, maybe,
right.
But, hey, you gotta, I think it's a numbers game. I think you gotta, but you can be kind about it, right? You can talk, like, to me, I when I was on the sites, I would, want to talk to them. And if it didn't gel when I talked to them, then that was it. We didn't go any further. But you got to get out there.
I want to make sure I reference Katie's last comment. I went through the exact same thing for over a year. It's damaged the way I think. I think that it's really important to once we've seen that emotional unavailability, it is very difficult to put ourselves in a situation again where we are going to be vulnerable and try to effectively communicate. Because I'll be honest, with that last person that I was talking to a little while back, and they just like playing that game, I don't want to effectively communicate and say, hey, I like you. I'm interested in you. I want to get to know you. Because the minute you do that, in my experience, people tend to shy away. And that's an emotionally unavailable person, right? That's literally someone who says, you like me, I'm going to make myself emotionally unavailable. So to your point about numbers, the reason that I was swiping left is because, first of all, I only date plus size
You
women.
just had nothing to do at that night, and you just were looking at girls.
Maybe. But I was looking for a certain look, right? So for me, I know what I look for. I know I look for a plus size woman with just, to me, they've got they jump out at me. They've got a je ne sais quoi that I look for. And so if they didn't give me the butterflies, so here's how I judged it when I was doing it that night. If I didn't go, ooh, right, I swiped left, because I wanted, like, when I was like, oh, I hope that person swipes right on me, that's when I swiped right. When I said, that'd be kind of fun, I swiped left, because to that point that we made earlier, if that'd be kind of fun was my mindset, then I'm not ready to give myself to that person.
Yeah, but how can you judge someone on just a picture? You can't. An individual has so much more depth to them. So and I, like, for instance, me, I take the world's worst pictures. Absolutely.
Right.
Worst pictures. So,
and we all know Cece's gorgeous, right?
Yeah, right. See, I absolutely know that.
Right.
No, but it's your essence of the human being, right? It's the essence of the person that really makes it. And you could be surprised that, I mean, I will say that the guy that I'm dating now has said that I'm a little larger than what he's used to. He's used to small, petite women, and I'm,
He said you ballooned larger than what he's used to. Is that his words?
Well, I didn't want to try to figure out a nice way to put it, but my body build is not what he's used to. Okay. So, but that hasn't made a difference, because he's gotten to know me and whatever, so, and the face was okay, I guess, but I don't know, whatever. But it's whatever. It's worked out. I mean, we've been together a little over 6 months now.
Yeah.
So who knows? We're at a little bit of a crossroads now because of this of sharing emotions or sharing feelings of each other.
Sure.
We haven't quite gotten to that point yet, but but here's the thing. What was I talking about? I was talking about something that we got the.
I don't remember.
About swiping. You just can't, and you're missing out on a lot of really great people if you just swipe too quickly.
Yeah, I'm not swiping at all anymore, because I'm done. I'm gonna wait for them to be able to create a cyber optic, artificial intelligent woman. And I'm just gonna wait for that.
And you're still not going to get along with her, because
probably not. She'll be, I'll tell her I love her, and she'll say, I kind of want somebody else. I'll go, well, but I paid for you.
She'll say, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's face it, women are difficult. I mean, we are difficult, and that's why you like us.
Right. That's exactly why I like it. It's interesting too. Women nowadays, I find that they're not as emotionally unavailable as men, but they do tend to guard themselves a little bit more than I think men do, because men, in my experience, they'll give of themselves a little bit more, especially before the intimacy happens, right? And then after that, they pull back a little bit because they're idiots. But women, I think, are afraid of exactly that happening, so they tend to not give of themselves early on, because they're afraid that all the guy wants is to sleep with them. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that generally speaking, for me, guys have been really right up front right away about their feelings for me. I mean, they've and by doing that, it made me comfortable to actually share my feelings. But when you're not like that, and you're not upfront with how you feel, and you kind of hold back and you're reserved because maybe you're afraid of getting hurt or whatever, then the woman is not as easily able to share her feelings. And
right.
So it's really the man creating that safe space for her.
I had that conversation with a friend recently where, we were talking about something, and I didn't make them feel safe to express themselves. I kind of joked. I joked around with them a little too harsh, a little too hard, and I was joking. But they said I really didn't like that, and immediately drew back, and I pulled back, and I apologized, and I said, "Look, I am so sorry that I made you feel that way. I asked you to vent to me, and then I didn't create a safe space for you to do it. So I said, if you'd forgive me and let me create that safe space again, hopefully we can talk about that again, and hopefully they will." But that's very true. I think even today, I know that we have non-traditional gender roles, but men still, I think, have a significant portion of the control over whether a space is safe or not. And it really is up to them to provide that safe space to share those emotions, because so often I think they think they're creating a safe space when they're either leading with the wrong head or they're doing whatever, and they're overzealous, and then they pull back on that safety. And that's when you get this, men are from Mars, women are from Venus kind of a thing, because they were literally doing whatever they could to create that intimate moment and not really thinking about, is this what I want? And the women or more feminine side of that relationship, should be cautious in sharing those emotions right away, because men tend to be jerks about that sometimes.
Right. And talking about that, just a little bit about I know we always refer to things as men and women, and then,
yes,
we have other relationships, but there is always a dominant side to dominant and a passive side. And so with men and women, it tends to be the men are more dominant, the women are more passive.
Yeah.
And so, so you have that pull, or that, that dynamics within the relationship. So when we refer to a man and a woman, just take it however it works for you.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
It's like we're not trying to to say anything other than that. So we'd like for you to, if you're out there, and you're listening, and your gender is different, then your relationship is different. We want to be able to make this relatable to everyone. But here's the thing is, when you are in a relationship and the guy, or we're going to refer to the guy as a more dominant side, it is very important for him to step forward and not only create that space, but create that trust that we can open up as to our feelings. And when you start opening up about your feelings and you create that trust factor, they're like, I'm going to share this with you. And then you're ready for us to share it, return the favor, return the conversation. Then that's kind of what happens, and it kind of builds a relationship. When you're not able to do that, then you're not available. If you're not able to share truly how you feel about someone, you're really not able to completely love them, right? Because you're holding back. Yeah.
Well, and if you're holding back things about yourselves in general, are they loving you or who you portray yourself to be? While you were chatting, I wanted to Google a quick percentage. I thought this was very interesting to talk about how I think this is correlated, and you tell me, and then it looks like we probably have to exit soon. Mm-hmm. About 50.2%, so a little over 50% of American adults, so almost 125 million American adults are single today. Mm-hmm. Compare that with 1950, that number sat at about 22%, so less than half are single today. So what that means to me, I don't know, is that we have a lot more people not engaging in relationships because, in my opinion, they don't want them, or not available for them, or not ready for them. What do you think about that?
Could be. I mean, how could I say without even talking to them? But I think that there's a lot of divorces. And so, when you have a relationship loss, it takes some time to be able to get over that and feel, try to dissect that as to what the situation is. So when you're stepping into another relationship, you have that, if you haven't done that past work, you're out there. And so you've got a lot of people that are single now, a tremendous amount of people. And so as we progress in relationships, maybe we have a lot of people that are kind of lost and not really know themselves and know what they want to be able to, because you cannot have a good relationship with someone if you don't know what it is that you truly want in your life.
Yeah. Working backwards from what that, I tell my folks too, the folks that I coach, they go, I really want a husband or a wife. And I go, write down what that looks like, draw what that looks like. I have, if you give me a second, I can even show you. I take out these booklets, right? Hold on, where are they? So I have a white booklet, and I say, give me the goals that you have, and let's write them, or let's draw them, or let's sketch them here. And then let's work backwards from that. Because if you can't visualize what the end game looks like, more or less, right? Loving, do I want children? Do I not? Do I, some people, do they want polyamory? Do they want an open relationship? Do they want, do they think some folks are bisexual, but maybe they only want to marry a man or a woman. They just want to date men or the other side. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And so looking at that and then saying, okay, now that I know what I'm looking for and who I am, now I can start to narrow it down. So that's one thing that I do for sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's important. You have to really kind of know what you want. And I think when I started dating at the very beginning, I just didn't. I just wanted to be not lonely.
You're right.
I just didn't want to be lonely. And so, and I still to this day, I feel so bad for that guy because I know I hurt him really bad. And every now and then he'll pop up and he'll tell me how badly I hurt him.
Oh, no, he does?
Yes, he still does. And I broke his heart. And I shouldn't laugh about it because it's not, I'm very, I feel terrible about it. But I just wasn't ready. And you know what? Here's the thing. If he had backed up and said, okay, instead of getting mad at me and giving me more space, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, and that's important for men to note too. It's super important to note that when a woman is uncomfortable in any way, whether it be emotionally, psychologically, sexually, whatever, the easiest thing to do is to feel rejection. And then the natural reaction from men, because anger stems from fear, is they tend to get a little angry because the fear of being rejected, right? That's a very typical reaction from men. And it's also a very toxic reaction. It's a very hurtful reaction. And it's the number 1, 2, and 3 way that you are going to push someone away from you. Because if that's how you react in that situation, they can women or the other side of the equation, whatever it is, can visualize how you're going to react in those situations going forward. If you can take a second, understand that the person you're speaking to, it doesn't hate you. They are just uncomfortable in that moment, and empathize with that person and show some sympathy and actually help that person heal a little bit. You've got a 9 out of 10 chance of that person coming back and going, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. I can express myself and show that I'm uncomfortable, and they're still going to be here because they respect that I can have feelings. And it's a really great way to handle that. You're right. If he had come out and said, okay, I can handle that. I can handle rejection. Let's backtrack. Let's go back to the way we were. You might have had a couple more months and maybe you would have found something that you loved about him. Well,
it's not that I don't know if I guess I didn't love him, but I just wasn't ready. Timing is everything, Sure. It's just everything. And I just had I did not have a clue that he wanted that to be that serious. And when he was, I just about fell apart because it's like, that was like the last thing. I mean, I just barely got over the divorce, and and it was a bad divorce. So
right, I can imagine.
I still feel bad for the guy, but anyhow, but I wasn't available. So I admit it, but I am now, and we'll see what happens. I feel sorry for the guy now, but So what are we going to talk about next week?
Oh, that's a good question.
We're bi-weekly, you guys.
Yeah.
So
we talked about timing, right? Timing and intimacy. Is that the next show? Are you ready to be intimate?
Oh, timing and oh yeah.
That'll be fun.
Okay, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. So tune in next week. We're going to talk, or 2 weeks from now, on the Going Bold Network, which is part of Going Solo Media. We are going to talk about are you ready to be intimate with your partner, timing and intimacy, and how that works. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have just watched the Boy and Girl Show with
Cece Shatz
and Dr. Christopher Salute as part of the Going Solo Media Network and part of Going Bold Network. I want to thank you so much for your engagement and thank you so much for your energy. And we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.